Good day, my dear learners. For this video, we are going to discuss the Renaissance period that happened after the medieval period, particularly during the 1400s to 1600s. When we say Renaissance, this term comes from the word renator, which means rebirth, revival, and rediscovery. It is also said that the Renaissance period is the period of looking back to the golden age of Greece and Rome. This means that during this period, people started taking an interest in the learning of ancient times, in particular, the learning of ancient Greece and Rome. During this period, invention of printing press by Johannes Gutenberg started the printing revolution. This paved way for a wide distribution of Renaissance compositions. Composers during this time also started selling their compositions since there is already a machine to reproduce their masterpieces. During this time also, Copernicus was able to discover the actual position of the Earth in the solar system. Compass was also invented in this era that created a wider navigation not only of the lands but also of the oceans. And during this period came Martin Luther, who began to question the basic tenets of Roman Catholicism that made him a controversial figure because of this Protestant Reformation. The influence of the Roman Catholic Church started to decline as the new music genre arose. Though sacred music was still of great importance during the time, secular music became prominent. It was then considered the golden age of a cappella choral music. We also have, of course, the characteristic of Renaissance music. And that the first one there is polyphonic, which means there are different melodic lines played by different instruments or voices at the same time. Thus, blending of voices came across the history. Yes, blending among voices during this era began to work. There is also an imitation among voices during this period, which became very common among the singers. When we say imitation in this music industry, it means that there is a repetition of melody in a polyphonic texture shortly after its first appearance in a different voice. Another characteristic is the use of word painting in the text and music. When we say word painting, we refer to a musical technique of composing music that reflects literal meaning of a song's lyrics. Let's say ascending scales would accompany lyrics about going up, while slow or dark music would accompany lyrics about death. In short, kung masaya ang lyrics or meaning ng isang kanta, composers would use a fast beat music, while kapag ito naman ay malungkot, ay mabagal ang beat ng music. Yung technique na ito ay may pinakamalaking tulong para mas lalong maintindihan o mas makakarelate ang sinumang makakarinig sa mga piyesa. Okay. The third one is its melodic lines move in flowing manner, unlike during the medieval period. And lastly, melodies are easier to perform since singers have already an access to printed compositions, unlike during the medieval period that music were transferred orally. So now, we are moving on to the vocal music of the Renaissance period. The first one there is, we have the Mass. Now, what is a Mass? Mass is a form of sacred musical composition that sets text of the Eucharistic liturgy into music. I repeat, a mass is a form of sacred musical composition that sets texts of the Eucharistic liturgy into music. Now, we have three characteristics of a mass. The first one is polyphonic, which means we said a while back that there are different melodic lines played by different instruments or voices at the same time. Okay. Second characteristic is a cappella or with accompaniment. It is sang a cappella or with accompaniment. Okay, and then the last one is the text may be syllabic, pneumatic, or melismatic. When we say syllabic, as you can see in the example, every syllable receives just one note. Let's say the word twinkle, which is equivalent to 2 syllables. Twink receive one note, while L also receives a single note. Okay, so that is an example of syllabic. Next is the pneumatic. Pneumatic means fewer notes are set to one syllable. When we say pneumatic, 2 notes are assigned to a syllable. And the last one is melismatic, which means many notes are set to one syllable. When a syllable receives multiple notes, meaning 3 or more notes are set to one syllable, let's take this as an example. As you can see, we have the word Gloria over there. So the syllable glo receive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 notes. Okay. Ri and ya receive 1 note each. For melismatic, it is not necessary that all syllables receive more than 3 notes. Other syllables can have 1 note as seen in our example. So, moving on to the 5 sections of a mass. The first section is the Kyrie or Lord have mercy, followed by Gloria, which means glory to God in the highest. And the third one is Credo or the Apostles' Creed. And then Sanctus and Benedictus, which is holy, holy, and blessed is He. And then the last one is Agnus Dei or Lamb of God. So those are the 5 sections of the Mass. I repeat, Kyrie, Gloria, Credo, Sanctus and Benedictus, and the last one is Agnus Dei. Moving on to the next example of vocal music of the Renaissance period, which is the madrigal. Madrigal is a secular vocal polyphonic music composition which originated from Italy. It was written in a poetic text and sung during courtly gatherings. Okay, for this, madrigal was considered the most important secular form during the Renaissance period. We have the characteristic of the madrigal. The first one is polyphonic. Okay, we have defined polyphonic a while back. Next is it is sung a cappella. Third is through composed. And the last one is frequently in 3 to 6 voices. An example of a madrigal is April is in My Mistress' Face by Thomas Morley. Okay. Moving on to the different composers of the Renaissance period. The first one there is we have Giovanni Pierluigi the Palestrina. Giovanni is said to be the greatest master of the Roman Catholic Church music during the Renaissance period. Majority of his compositions are sacred music. He was committed to sacred music and has keen interest in satisfying the desires of the church leaders in the 16th century. Palestrina's Pope Marcellus Mass is held up as the perfect example of counter-reformation style, and we have the Kyrie as the first part of the first two sections of the Pope Marcellus Mass. His career reflects his commitment to the music of the church. He received his early training and spent the majority of his career in various churches in Rome, including the Pope's Chapel. He was an organist and a choir master at both the Sistine Chapel and at St. Peter's Basilica, which may have influence in his distinctively pure and restrained style in musical compositions. Palestrina also served as an organist in St. Agapito. His first book, Masses, became popular and was greatly appreciated by Pope Julius III. Palestrina has two sons but lost them both during the plague epidemic that struck Rome in 1570s. He had planned to become a priest but eventually changed his mind and married a wealthy widow. This improved his wealth and enabled him to pursue a musical career for the rest of his life. Next is we have Thomas Morley. Thomas Morley is the son of a brewer and who was born in Norwich, East England. He was a singer in the local cathedral from his boyhood, and he became a master chorister there in 1583. Thomas Morley was the most famous composer of secular music in his time. He was a singer in the local cathedral during his childhood and was believed to have studied music with William Byrd, an Elizabethan composer of sacred music. He received his bachelor's degree in Oxford and became an organist at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. He tried imitating Byrd in his early works but veered toward composing madrigals that show a variety of color, form, and technique. Most of his madrigals are light and easy to sing with some aspects of Italian style. His Musica Transalpina, a collection of Italian madrigals fitted with English text, was published by Nicholas Young in 1588. Shortly after, he began publishing his own collection of madrigals and made significant contributions to the history of music. Some of his works include Fire, Fire, My Heart, Sing and Chant It, Fantasy, and It Was a Lover and His Last. So that's all. I hope you have learned a lot in this video. For the next video, we are going to talk about the Baroque period. Thank you and have a good day.